Hi everyone, Wolfie Rankin here, and normally I talk about vinyl, but I'm going to take a small diversion today because I'm going to talk about anxiety. And the reason I'm doing that is because ABC has this mental health week. In fact, I think it's mental health week just generally. And they're doing this thing though called Mental As, where people are sort of giving their stories about their own mental health and experiences they've had over the years. And I thought, well, last night I was sort of giving a few of mine on Twitter last night, and I was surprised that about five, six, seven, eight people were reading my tweets and saying, "Yes, yes, that's exactly how I've been feeling. Thank you very much for opening up about it." So, with that in mind, I was thinking, geez, maybe I could do a video and maybe that would be more helpful. So, here I am. First of all, anxiety is something that people think is weird, and it is weird. It's bloody weird. But the thing is with it, it's so common, it's crazy. It's really common. There's lots of people that have it, and I'm almost at the opinion of well, maybe if it's so common, maybe it's almost verging on normal. I don't know. Um, so that's what I've been considering at the moment. Now, a lot of people have been saying that, well, they think that this fear that we have, and mine is sort of like going out and being out in places, that there is, in fact, my psychologist suggested that this might be the case, that something is frightening me. Like I'm seeing something and sort of going, ooh, it's almost like you're an arachnophobic and you find a spider in the corner and you think, oh, spider, and you're freaking out and you're sweating and all the rest of it. But, the spider is an object. It's something that, if you got someone to put it in a jar and take it outside, spider's gone, your fear's gone, everything's cool. Except it's not like that. And it's not really a fear. It's a feeling of there's different words that I could probably use, but they probably wouldn't get it across really well. But suffocation or feeling like like a strangulation, if you will, of your mind rather than your throat, and these awful feelings that you're going to die on the spot rather than, yeah, it's not really fear. I think that's the wrong word, and I think when we say that, I think people get the wrong idea. So taking the idea of fear that there's an object that you're worried about, there isn't. You're just generally, oh my God, what's happening to me? It's it's just there and it just is. And I would love to have said, "Oh, I'm terrified of pink cars" or something like that. I don't know, and thought things out logically and said, "Well, there's no way cars can hurt me unless I run out on the road, so I'm probably pretty safe." And that would have calmed me down. In the same way as spiders, when you think about it, they're little tiny things that live on the wall over there, and they're not out to get you. And provided they mind their own business, it's fine. And you can get a jar and you can put the jar over the spider and take it outside, and it's gone. And I do. And I used to be really, really scared of spiders, so scared that I couldn't even do that. But I got over it because basically it's bullshit. They're just a little creature, and there's nothing to be worried about. So I just take them outside. No worries. It's not a big deal anymore. My mum used to, we've got these big spiders in Australia called huntsmen. They're about as big as your hand. My mum actually used to get a tea towel and she used to put over them and just sort of go, "I've got you now." And she used to take it outside and she wasn't worried. And yet, she'd stand on a chair and do a dance if she saw a mouse, which Dad and I found quite strange. um, since I've sort of done meditation over the years, and I'm sort of really in tune with my body and my mind, and I can sort of tell certain things. And I think slowing down and really giving it a bit of thought has really helped me. I did do a course in shiatsu massage some time ago, and while I didn't succeed at that, what I did get out of it was a great deal of knowledge about how I feel my body is working, which was really good. I could sit down and sort of work it out and think, yeah, okay. I think what's going on, if there's any actual fear, I think part of it's got to do with us being animals, and we are animals. We're not some divine being put here on earth to rule over everything. We are an animal, and we now live in a really artificial world that's really strange and weird, and we've got to put up with that and cope. And sometimes we just don't. Um, and I think that's the problem. And that if I get out in nature and sit, in some lovely grass around some trees or something like that, I feel really lovely. Some of the places that I couldn't get into years ago, hospitals were really hard. My dad was sick for a while, and it was very, very difficult for me to get in and see him. And it was worse, really, when I was told that I had cancer and I had to go to hospital and deal with it. And somehow I did. I managed it. So I'm not sure how that worked out. I was given diazepam, but I've tried my best not to live on drugs because I don't think that's really the best way. Yeah, if you're in a crisis situation, like you're out and you're having a panic attack and you think, well, or you think you might be going to have a panic attack and you've got diazepam with you, sure. I'm not one of these people who say don't take your tablets. So don't get me wrong there. There were certain places I couldn't get into when I was walking around. Virgin Megastore was really hard. High Point West Shopping Centre was terribly difficult for me, and there were record shops there too. And I couldn't even get into to buy any records. It was awful. And I don't know what it was. I don't know whether it was the carpet or the space or the sound. But there were some things about certain buildings that I didn't like. Sometimes soundproofing inside the walls does something to your ears as well. It's sort of like a muffled feeling, like you've got blankets around your ears. And I think I sensed that too, and I didn't like it. Some cinemas were pretty bad, I think, because of that. Trains are places that I still have trouble with. A friend of mine said, we'll get on the train and we'll go to the city. And we got on the train and we had to get off at the next station, which was good because it was only just up the road a bit. No, I still can't handle trains. Concerts, funny enough, you might think me being a big music fan, I would have gone to multiple concerts. Nope, I've never been to a concert or a nightclub or anything like that in my entire life. I wouldn't go because too many people, flashing lights, really loud, and I hate really loud. Um, every concert that I've seen is has been on television, and I've thought that was much better because I had it wired up to the stereo system, and I was getting the good sound, and it was just the right setting as far as sound levels go, not very loud. And I had a fridge and my loo, and I didn't have to queue up for anything, and I didn't have people pushing me around, and I loved that. I saw lots of concerts that way, but I would never actually go to one. Uh, Talking about that, safe places, home seems to be the safest place for me to be. I love being at home, which is good. I spend about 99.9% of my life at home. I don't go out much. It's partly because of the prior anxiety that I had, but I really do quite like being out. And I've got a friend who's been kind enough to take me out a couple of times and get me out the house. So thanks, Deb, and Marco too, because you've both been really helpful in that regard. So I've been really pleased to have had your acquaintance. Um, the bedroom and the bed seem to be my most the safest areas that I can be. Funny enough, too, toilets. toilets can be really good. Not talking about toilets so much in big buildings, because then you've got sort of like echoes and whatever going on. But if you can find a toilet that's kind of like almost like an outhouse that's got a bit of a view and birds and things. I think there's something absolutely beautiful about toilets and sitting in a toilet and just minding your own business, which is what you're doing, and you don't feel stressed in a toilet at all. And I hate big buildings. I really do hate big buildings in the city, and I don't like being in them at all. And they kind of vibrate, and there's the way the sounds sort of echo around. I don't like that at all. And that sort of gets me going. Um, a cousin of mine, she was going through a really bad marriage thing years ago. She found that a bath was her best thing, her best ally in the world. She would have a bath maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 times a day. Don't know how she coped with paying her water bills, but she would soak in her bath for hours at a time, and she had to. It just kept her from uh, doing anything extreme that she didn't want to do. So, if you feel that a bath or a shower is the thing for you, and a shower is a good thing too, do that. Um, you know, when I was at the height of my anxiety, I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't even just walk the dog down the street, which was really hard. Um, and I remember I didn't go to the hairdresser for about 3 years, and my hair was like, when I finally did, she held it up and it was like something like that. It was really long, and we all laughed about it, and there was hair all over the floor and everything. And I'm a pretty hairy guy anyway, so when I get a haircut, there's usually a lot of hair all over the floor. Um, so um, Around about that time, I couldn't get into supermarkets, and I couldn't get in. So Mum did all my shopping. Mum went to the bank for me. Mum did everything for me. Mum and Dad, and it was really difficult. It was difficult for her too. There was a part where they would take me to well, we used to go to restaurants in the hills, in the Dandenongs nearby, just out of Melbourne, beautiful restaurants up there. And there was one restaurant we used to go to quite often, and this day they took me and I just couldn't cope, and I had to duck out. Fortunately, they had a lot of nature around the restaurant, and I got into a thicket of trees and I just sat there. And I sat there until Dad called me and we went home. So it was a bit of a waste. Sorry, Mum. But funny enough, Mum explained the situation to the waitress that was there, and she said, I have exactly the same thing. I was in a supermarket recently, she said, and I had a trolley full of items, and then I just thought, no, I can't do this anymore, and she ran out. And this happens quite frequently, I think, and I almost did it myself a few times. Preventing it, you can prevent it in different ways. You learn techniques. You learn what keeps you away from going into full meltdown. And I found a few of these things worked for me. I don't know whether they'll work for you, but hey, full tummy. Full tummy is critical. If I've got a full tummy, I don't go into that, oh, I'm starting to feel a bit weak thing. Hang on, maybe I'm feeling like I'm going to have a panic attack, which maybe I'm not, but now I'm convinced that I might be, and that will drop me into a panic attack mode. So a full stomach is good. If I can do that before I go out, I'm probably going to be okay. Water bottle was something that I used to cling to. I used to get this feeling that I was dry or drying out or dehydrating, and that would slip me into a panic attack mode. Um, but if I've got a bottle of water in my hand, I can say to myself, I've got a bottle of water here. If I feel like I'm going to dehydrate, I can drink this water, and that sort of deactivates. Oh, I'm dehydrating now. I'm going to have a panic attack thing. So that was good for me. And quite often I'd go out and I'd buy a bottle of water from the corner shop, and I'd go out and spend a day outside in the city or something like that. And I have this bottle of water with me, and I might take it home and it might not have been opened at all. So good for next time, I suppose. Stick it in the fridge, take it again next time. Yeah, it wasn't necessarily something I had to have as far as having a drink, but I needed it there for the security that, I wouldn't dry out and I'd be fine. Having a companion was critical for me for a while. I found that although it was difficult for me to get out, if I was with someone, it was less likely that I'd have a panic attack. So if I was with mum or with dad or with my cousin or a friend, I was better off. And I started to find that my Alaskan Malamute, Katie, was quite a good companion for me to have. The other dogs, for some reason, didn't seem to be as effective, but she was, and she was like a service dog to me. And when I lost her a couple of years ago now, it was really, really hard to get over that. But I've got Jet now, and she's been good to me. But Katie was a little anxious herself, funny enough. She used to have panic attacks when I was out of the house. So, yeah, weren't we a pair? One of the methods that I used to calm myself down a bit was to imagine that I'm walking along with a stallion that's about ready to bolt. He's quite frightened, poor old bugger, and I'm just holding his reins and I'm saying to him, "Come on, mate, calm down." And his ears were up and, back, and his eyes were sort of worried, and you could see that he's just about to run away. And I'm going, "No, mate, calm down, calm down." And for me, that worked very well. And no, I didn't have my arms up like this. It's all in my head because it's all in your head anyway. And yeah, that's another thing. People say it's all in your head, but isn't everything? We live in our heads, don't we? I find social media is helpful. Look, a lot of people say social media is bull, that it's not real, that there's a lot of fake people, but I think that's nonsense personally. It's only basically the phone system, your computer stuck in the phone socket. That's all it is. People are as real as they are any other time, as far as I'm concerned. Um, I found that it was an awesome way for me to socialize, and you find that in a lot of cases, whether it might be something like Minecraft, and I don't know whether people talk to each other in Minecraft or not, but they certainly did in the thing that I was using at the time called, before that, called Second Life. And Second Life is still active. But I found that I could get into that and I could sit down with avatars all over the world, and I could sit down and well, my character could sit down with them, and we could have a chat about something. And that would help a great deal. I find Twitter is amazing for that. Facebook's okay, but it's not as live as Twitter. Um, I do find the liveliness and um, and how instant it is critical to feeling like you're having a real conversation with someone. So that can be good. Skype, not so much, because you're sort of facing one person, and you end up having this point where you're not really sure what to say and you're just staring at each other, and I think that's really awkward and weird. And I only use Skype for when I really need to talk to someone. Um, I think one of the things that helped me personally was coming out as Wolfie. And what I mean by that is letting my hair down and virtually, and just telling others who I am and what I'm about, and being a bit more open about who I am. And that worked. And I thought, oh no, people are going to see me as really weird. That's really hard. It's not going to work for me. And I was really incredibly nervous about it at first, but once I did it, I was fine. And you sort of realize that really, especially when if you look at a page called Walmart People, you'll see that the world is really weird. And that's all right. I'd prefer to be in a world where people were more themselves and a bit weird, rather than growing up like this culture I think we have in Australia is really compressive, such as you've got to be a certain way. Like that thing where they tell you when you're a boy, you've got to grow up to be a man, whatever a man is. And I never really worked that one out. I think we're all different, hey? And we've got this culture here where the biggest thing is football, 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 and you've got to like football and da 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 da. And I'm not interested in that one eye. I'm just not. I'm just not interested. It doesn't do a thing for me. I like my music. I like Friends. I like furries. I like various things, but I don't like football. And it's kind of hard when you're growing up in a situation like that, where if you don't fit in, you're looked upon as that weirdo. And I was, because I can remember growing up and being asked things like, what team do you barrack for? And not, do you like football? And then going on, oh yeah, well, what team do you barrack for? Oh, well, I like whatever, you know? It's just like, what team do you barrack for? I don't watch football. Oh, you're a weirdo. And some years ago, someone rang me up, and it was a survey, and they said, "Can we ask you a question?" And I said, "Yes, yeah, no worries." And they said, "Do you like football?" And I said, "I've been waiting for this question all my life." And I said, "No." And and then I had an extension on my phone because I had the internet on in the next room, old dial up, and and I said, can I answer the question again when they rang through? I said, no, no, once was enough. Damn. It was practically an orgasm, I can tell you. And the results came through some time later, and it was like 30% of Australians liked football and the rest didn't care. So there you go. It, you're not as weird as you think you might be, and I'm not as weird as I think I might be. There's people out there who are a lot weirder than us, and they live quite well. So why shouldn't we? Let your hair down and be yourself. So I hope that maybe this has given you some food for thought. I hope that it's helped in some way, and if you want to talk about it here, fine. If you want to talk about it on Twitter, Wolfie Rankin on Twitter. Quite happy to have a bit of a chat about anxiety and so forth, or any other troubles maybe. I'm a good listener. I like listening to people. So there you go. That's me, and that's it, I think. All the best. Bye bye.